No one goes to Hank's for his spreadsheets. They go for a darn good pizza. Lately, though, the shop's been quiet, so Hank decides to bring back the $1 slice. He asks Copilot in Microsoft Excel to look at his sales and costs and help him see if he can afford it. Copilot shows Hank where the money's going and which little extras make the dollar slice work. Now Hank has a line out the door. Hank makes the pizza, Copilot handles the spreadsheets. Learn more at m365copilot.com/work.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Give me a break, give me a break. Break me off a piece of that Kit Kat bar. Give me a break, give me a break. Break me off a piece of that Kit Kat bar. That chocolate crispy taste gonna make your day. And wherever you go, you'll hear the people say, give me a break, give me a break. Break me off a piece of that Kit Kat bar. Have a break. Have a Kit Kat.
In the squadron, they called him Bullets, but we call him Greg Kelly. Greg Kelly is on the air
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Hey, one of the thrills for me this spring, as we move into summer, was meeting the crew of Artemis 2. They went to the moon, and they looped the moon and came back. And what's so special for me about it, and I think for everybody, we had not done that since 1972, and that is how many years ago? Let me think about it. 54 years ago, 54 years. We had space shots. We had, the space shuttle, but the space shuttle only went like 100 or 200 miles up. I think once it went like 800 miles up, maybe. Just didn't go that far. And, people were in space, how do I put this? There were people, when you're in space, they just look straight up. The International Space Station is only 200. We're farther away right now from Los Angeles than the space station is from us, right? It was too close. And that's cool. There's science to do up there. But then we lost the space shuttle. We didn't even have that. And we couldn't even we had to borrow rides from the Russians, and then we started using Elon Musk's rockets. And I love Elon Musk, but we weren't going to the moon from 1972 until 2026. I was watching a movie the other night, Prince of the City. Great movie, by the way. Not perfect. It has plenty of flaws. It has some gigantic flaws. You ever see that with Treat Williams, the late, great Treat Williams, and all the cops and the corruption and everything? It's shot on location in New York, which I really, really like. It's not over-stylized, the way movies are now. It's gritty, it's real. But you never really find out why the hell that guy, decided to turn. And we didn't get a sense of how were they really stealing? I don't know. And then the next thing he does, there was a problem with that script. There's something wrong with it, but it was a really great movie to watch. And I'm watching Treat Williams and the other guy go to Governor's Island, and I look at the movie year. It's 1981, and I'm like, yeah. In 1981, we were not going to the moon. We were just orbiting, at best, Earth. And then one day, I would meet the astronauts who actually went. And I met them, and they came in. I shook their hands. And it was so interesting for me to look eye to eye to people and feel their flesh and bones, when you shake somebody's hands, that they were on the other side of the moon. And in a weird way, I feel like I've been kind of on the other side of the moon. I mean, not really, but to talk to these people about what they experienced was such a privilege. Here is the interview. Greg Kelly sitting down with the crew of Artemis 2. And let's see. I introduce each one of them. So here, let's go. Welcome to the Artemis 2 crew. Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, and Jeremy Hansen. It's just a thrill to be in your presence. How you guys doing?
We're doing great.
We're doing great.
Thanks.
Yeah?
Thanks for having us.
Does it feel normal yet? Does it feel like, are you back? No? Is it not normal?
Not normal.
No. Not, Sitting up here, no, not at all. With makeup, no.
All right.
At home doing chores, yes.
Well, I just want to emphasize and kind of tell myself again how special this is. I looked at 120 billion people who have ever lived. You are among how many who have been to the vicinity of the moon? I think you know the answer, but how many?
26, 27, 28.
28. 28. You were 28 human beings in all of human history.
It's a tremendous. You guys are in the most elite group ever. How do you look at the moon these days? How do you look at it? Has it changed the way you look at the moon?
Absolutely. The moon is like, it's always been a part of us. It's the thing that when you were a kid growing up and your friend was on a different continent, or your brother's off at college or something, we were looking at the same moon. And now we've looked at a part of the moon that you don't normally get to see. We've looked at 18% of the far side. No human eyes have ever looked down on Oriental Basin and some of the craters that we studied and saw on the far side. And now when we look at the moon, we know what's around that left corner. And it's pretty wild to think about that.
And you're the only ones. I mean, there are only, I think, 3 or 4 astronauts from Apollo still with us. Thank God, Buzz Aldrin and the rest. I have to tell you, we were so thrilled. But when I heard about the burn, right, there was a burning smell inside the space capsule, I got very nervous. I didn't know the toilet aspect of it. But when you first smelled a burning sensation, I thought bad things. I'm curious about your reaction, Jeremy, first.
Yeah, it just kind of stops you in your tracks, and you need to start talking about this and get a second opinion, see if anyone else smells this. And as soon as I opened up the door to the toilet, I asked them, and they're like, yeah, we're smelling that too. And we just hadn't had that signature in the capsule up until that point. And so we kicked into our training, but as it turns out, it was an unknown source. So we get lucky sometimes.
And is that like in the book? Like, is that a scenario that, suspicious odor, do this?
100%. Is it actually? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is.
And if it's a burning sensation, I take it nobody panicked. Nobody got too nervous.
It was uncomfortable.
We asked some questions.
Yeah.
We got the ground involved. But like Jeremy said, it turned out to actually be something that after some time, they said they sensed this on the ground as well. And so maybe they told us before and we just didn't remember, but it was something that had been observed on the ground in processing.
Christina, I don't think a lot of people understand that the spaceship at some point falls to the moon. Gravity picks it up. You talked about that moment where you were actually under moon's gravitational pull. My first question is, does that feel like anything physically? Can you feel the gravity of the moon?
Wow. Well, it is called the lunar sphere of influence. We knew exactly when we passed into it. And I would say we commemorated it, more as a crew, not necessarily a physical sensation, except our spaceship reflects it because it will then show us the altitude above the lunar surface. And you sort of become almost lunar explorers at that moment because your point of reference is a different celestial body than it normally is. And that meant something to us.
Could you feel the gravity? Probably not.
I would say not necessarily, except that it was such a strong psychic sensation that some part of your body knows it as well.
Now, these pictures are very, very cool. I noticed that these pictures, unlike the ones from Apollo, I can see stars in a lot of the pictures. And you couldn't, like that 1972 full Earth, no stars. They talked about how black the sky is. Are cameras better? What's happening? Why can we see the stars now?
The technology has grown leaps and bounds, but it also was the hard work of our crewmates. I mean, I was the one just passing lenses and batteries most of the time, but we have some folks who can do really amazing things with cameras. And so they worked really hard to get these shots so that we could try to share that perspective.
And the shot that you just had up, the modern full Earth, the blue marble, that picture, I don't think in the 1970s it would have been very difficult to take that picture. That picture is the Earth at night. And the only thing giving the Earth illumination in that picture is the reflection of the sunlight off of the moon coming back to Earth. So if you look in the bottom right side of the Earth here, that is the sun eclipse behind the Earth. And so that is why that ring of atmosphere is glowing. And if you look close to this picture, it does get a little grainy just because of the low light, but the northern aurora is there, the southern aurora is there, and you can see Africa, you can see Straits of Gibraltar into Europe. This picture was amazing. You could even see some glare through the window. Right there in the center, there's a little bit of white there, and that is glare because we don't get everything perfect all the time, but we work hard.
Well, I love it. And by the way, with this picture, Africa is present, and the 1972 picture is Africa primarily. And is that like because of why is that? I was first surprised that this is a very rare opportunity to get the full Earth. It is. It only happens whenever. So why does it work out that way every time? Do we know?
No.
That's a great question. I'm sure someone could answer that, though. We'll get one here next week.
We saw a lot of Australia. We saw Antarctica. We saw Africa. We saw the U.S. But just where we launched, when we launched out of Cape Canaveral in Florida, the U.S. was going into night.
Yeah.
And so our main revolutions around the Earth before we headed off to the moon, we were seeing the U.S. at night.
Well, we're going to take a look at you guys back when you were a lot younger in the 1990s. Look, all kind of tribute videos have been made for you guys, and we feasted on them as Americans, as human beings. No, this is a beautiful one. You may have seen it, but take a quick look if you don't mind. Is that Space Camp?
It was Space
All right.
Camp.
So my question is this. Did you ever have a sense of predestination? That I just, those are awesome. And to think that I was wondering about you guys, who would be the next one? And it's you. And did you ever have any kind of earthly sense of that at some point, that maybe something like that could happen?
No, you used predestination. In fact, especially if there's young folks watching, no, absolutely not. In fact, maybe the opposite. Yeah. I was the first person in my family to graduate from college. And so the opposite feeling of, I don't know if I can make it at that level, but, trusting in the people next to me and listening to my mentors helped me overcome that.
That's amazing. And by the way, Reed, you have spoken. I couldn't believe it. You said, I didn't get into the Naval Academy. It's part of your story. And that so-called setback has set you up for something incredible.
We talk about this all the time. And failure is not a bad thing in life. If you're never failing, you're never trying, you're never expanding your bounds, you're never trying to do something that is very uncomfortable. Christina, you always talk about get out there and do something that scares you. Share your dreams, share your dreams with other people. You have to fail to overcome those obstacles. It makes you stronger every time.
Now, Jeremy, there are astronauts, and you guys all had an amazing experience, but there are astronauts who have done this mission and came back and said it was interesting, but it wasn't transformative. Mike Collins on Apollo 11, and I've heard possibly the same goes for Buzz Aldrin, but he didn't feel right about that. And is that? Do you ever feel? Maybe this is in the abstract. Does anybody ever feel pressure to have this grand philosophical transformative? I mean, maybe you did, maybe you didn't, and it's okay. I hope that makes sense, and forgive me.
No, it really does. I think it's a great question because I wondered before I went. I didn't feel pressure, but I was very curious, how my perspectives might change. And the best I can explain it to you, I think there's a couple of things that I love to touch on here. One, when we were out in deep space and looking back and you could see the Earth and the moon and the stars, there was this three-dimensionality to it that I just didn't imagine. When you see the images, you can tell things are three-dimensional, but they're still kind of flat. And even when you look at the stars, it looks like they're on a canvas on the sky. But when you're up there, it's not like that. You see that everything is positioned in a diorama in the galaxy is really what we're looking at, the Milky Way galaxy. And it's extraordinary. It would just catch my imagination. It definitely changed my perspective on that, but it didn't change my perspective on we're on this extraordinary planet. We're a group of humans that are weak as individuals, but strong as a collective. And that when we set goals, we can do extraordinary things. And what are we doing if we're not just lifting each other up and creating every single day?
Appreciate that so much. President Trump said when he launched his campaign in 2015 that America doesn't win anymore. And quite frankly, and we're not trying to get political here, but that message really resonated with me because we didn't even have the shuttle. And I feel like this was just such a solid victory for America and the world. So thank you for that. Do you have any thoughts on that? This is just a clear-cut win, and we can always use a win. And you really delivered one for us.
Yeah. Jeremy speaks very eloquently about how in this time we could all use something in the win column. And our goal from the beginning has been for this to be a win for all humanity. Yes, we take our way of life and our way of leadership with us and all the possibilities for the benefits to come back to the countries that explore and choose to devote the resources to that. But ultimately, it's a win for all humanity.
I got one other thing, if you don't mind. The comms. This is the Apollo
do me a favor. All right,
situation, right?
I had to show that the comms seemed a little bit out of whack, and it worked out. I had to demonstrate what they were like in Apollo and what they were like for them. It works, and we'll have that when we come back, and much more on this beautiful Memorial Day edition of the Greg Kelly Show. Be right back.
Greg Kelly.
Let's go, Brandon.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Greg Kelly.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
All right, this beautiful conversation continues with the crew of Artemis 2, recently back from the moon.
They're on the moon, and they're talking to NASA. All right, and let's go ahead and hit that clip if you don't mind.
Neil and Buzz, this is Houston. I'd like to remind you of the close-up camera magazine before you start up. Close-up camera magazine before you start up. Okay.
All right, that's it. Buzz, it's like maybe a second and a half, maybe 2 seconds. During one of the press conferences, it was a different kind of communication setup. Let's take a quick look.
Obviously, there is a huge moment coming up with reentry. Can you describe your feelings, how you're preparing for that moment mentally and physically? And then as you prepare for the end of the journey, what are some moments that you know that you'll take with you for the rest of your life from this journey? Thank you.
They still haven't. They're listening. The signal takes this long. It's crazy.
It started off sounding like an easy question for me to answer, and then it got really big. But
and then your answer was fantastic. But all right, 55 years later, and the communications has somehow what happened there?
One piece of it is something that, well, it changes very slightly, but it's the distance. The distance from the Earth to the moon means communications have a delay. And so a part of that is going to always be there.
Right, but the duration of the delay seemed a little bit... I have a theory that it had something to do with the PR people or something like that in the back, and had to go through some sort of switchboard or something like that. Not important, but interesting nonetheless. Well, it's... is there anything else you want to add? Something I should be asking, but I'm just too damn starstruck to think of, literally.
Gratitude. Thank you to you and your team for sharing this, and gratitude to our team. We may be the 4 people that are here at this table with you, but we are supported by such a huge team that had to not only work hard to achieve this, to dream it, to support it, to lead it, but also to make the decision to send us on this mission.
Wonderful. And Victor, by the way, you spoke very movingly about faith, very powerfully. And something tells me you don't have to be in space or on the moon to do that. Know what I mean?
Absolutely not. You mentioned earlier about the wind. And it just, what went through my head was a scripture, but it's a scripture that's written in the halls of Congress, and Reed quotes it often. Where there is no vision, the people perish. And I really love that scripture, and I think it connects a lot of the things that we've been sharing today.
Well, thank you very much, Jeremy Hansen, Christina Koch, Victor Glover, and Reed Wiseman. A privilege. I once met Jack Schmidt, the last guy, and now to meet you is such an incredible. And every time I hear a song, I'm like, 1976, we weren't going to the moon. That's a problem. I love the song, but so forgive me. It's been a true privilege, and I'll never forget it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Well, man, oh man, I really did sound a little bit giddy there, huh? But yeah, it's true. It's still, it's true too. I hear a song, I see a movie, I immediately think, when did this thing come out, and and to compare it to our timeline with the space race, and now more recently, right? It's thank you to NASA, thank you America, and thanks President Trump. Be right back.
Greg Kelly
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
At first, I didn't think it was real. I woke up to this blinding light, and I was transported to another place. Pluto TV. Then I heard a voice.
Come with me if you want to live.
There were thousands of movies and shows, and they were all free. The
truth is out.
It's just so beautiful.
On Pluto TV, free streaming of Terminator 2, Fringe, Arrow, The 100, and The X-Files may cause excitement, loss of sleep, and sudden belief in extraterrestrials. No credit cards or alien encounters necessary. Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.
Greg Kelly, entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
All right, now we are back on this Memorial Day, and on this Memorial Day, I am wearing my white pants because it is now sartorially legal. And you know who knows that better than anyone? Roger Stone, the political legend, mastermind, and also the most beautifully dressed man probably in the world. His new venture, actually, it's not so new. He's been at this for a while. It's called Roger Stone Suits. The Roger Stone collection. You too can look like Roger Stone, dress like him, and if you got your own style, you can tone it down, you can tone it up, you can do whatever you want. It is amazing. RogerStoneSuits.com, RogerStoneSuits.com. First of all, Roger Stone, congratulations. This is going to make you bigger than Ralph Lauren. I'm so excited for you. How are you?
I wouldn't bet on that. But I will say, this is something that I've wanted to do for a long time. When I speak at campuses or to young people, often young guys that come up to me and say, I want to be well dressed, but I'm not wealthy. And I try to lay out the basics for them. My initial line at the Roger Stone custom menswear collection was for fall, winter. The new line, which we just unveiled yesterday, is for spring and summer, and it features breathable fabrics that are right for hot weather, meaning linen, seersucker, madras, silk. And for the first time, we've added shirts, very tasty neckwear, suspenders. And you said it exactly right. We can make anything. If you want a ticket pocket, we can make it with a ticket pocket. If you want it to be a two-button, single-breasted suit or jacket, we can do that as well. But we put forward a very attractive group of sports jackets, trousers, suits, shirts, ties, and, of course, the all-important suspenders.
And something else that a lot of men skip on. They think they should skip on it. They don't need it. And if they have to, God forbid, they'll rent it. A tuxedo. You got something called a nocturne tuxedo. And what I love about this, it's traditional but non-traditional at the same time. And you got like massive shawl lapels. The shawl lapel is the way to go. And folks, if you don't know what a shawl lapel is, you gotta learn this stuff. It's very, very easy. It's the basics. It's a little bit of a curved lapel, right, Roger? And it just shows a big. It shows you know what you're doing.
Edward VIII came to New York City in 1938 wearing a shawl lapelled dinner jacket. Tuxedo is actually a bastardization, but that's because it was invented in Tuxedo, New York. But rather than going out and rent, in the end, it would be much less expensive to buy your own. And Greg, in all of the things we make, we leave a substantial amount of fabric in the seams. That way, if you take good care of it, as you get older and perhaps a little fatter, or even if you lose weight, as long as the shoulder in your garment always works, which it will, then it can always be altered to fit you.
Well, I'm so impressed, and I congratulate you. I got a couple more questions about that, but I want to come back to something we found out late last week. Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, is resigning at the end of the month. She's leaving at the end of June, June 30th. She cites her husband's bone cancer, which, wow, that's terrible. Let's face it, though, there's been some pressure on her from certain quarters. You've been following this very closely. I think she's amazing. You think, I know, you're close to her. You know all about her. She's incredibly talented. What's going on here?
Look, this is a shocking news. I met her, and she was an independent. She was thinking of supporting Bobby Kennedy as an independent candidate for president. And I think I persuaded her, as much as I respect and have affection for Bobby, that was a political dead end. I think I persuaded her to support the president. I ultimately supported her become a Republican. And she called me night before last at about 8:30 to give me this news. I have no reason to believe that the reasons given, that her husband has a very rare bone marrow cancer, which will require a life-threatening operation and a very long recovery. I believe that is her real answer. Now, there are ghouls out there like Laura Loomer who are celebrating. I don't know what there is to celebrate. It was Tulsi Gabbard who declassified the Russian collusion documents once and for all to prove that there was a seditious conspiracy to remove Donald Trump from the presidency. I was a victim of that witch hunt. He also declassified all of the documents pertaining to the two phony impeachments. Remember the cute little twin Vindman brothers in their uniforms?
Sure.
Yeah, well, they lied.
Yeah.
And Eric Ciamella, the so-called whistleblower, he lied too. He was being coached by Adam Pencilneck Schiff. So she has uncovered all of these crimes, but Greg, she was poking around in the one place the intelligence agency doesn't want you looking: electronic voting machines, and whether they can be manipulated, and whether they were manipulated in 2020. Excellent reporting by Catherine Harridge, by the way, a terrific report that proves that the Central Intelligence Agency was spying on another agency of government, the Office of the Director of Intelligence. Tulsi Gabbard, to put a cap on this, is far from finished. She is one of the most talented, most impressive, most principled, most sure-footed political figures I've ever met. And I reiterate my prediction here on your show. She is going to be the first woman president. Not in 2028, but eventually.
She's only 45 years old, and life is long, and I concur. I find her very impressive, and I think this is principled and good for her. We're going to be watching very, very closely. I wish her all the best, and she'll be back soon. She'll be back very, very soon. Roger, wow, that's something else. We're going to miss her, but only for a little while. All right, back to the close. I just got to ask you, the ticket pocket, just so everybody knows, you mentioned it before, that's like a little tiny pocket above your suit jacket pocket. And if you have one and it's well placed, first of all, it's a signal. It's a signal that the overall quality is good. And again, that you know what you're doing. And it's a little signal of flair, right? It just conveys a little, I don't know what, but a little special something.
Yeah, originally, of course, traditionally, it was meant to hold your theater tickets. When you're going to the theater tickets, that's where you kept them. But there are a lot of little touches here. So, for example, the buttonhole on the lapel is actually a working buttonhole. And there's a little string below it that's sewn in. Therefore, your boutonniere can be held in place. Why have working buttonholes on the sleeve if you don't unbutton the last one to demonstrate that you know what you're doing? And if you're wearing a 3-button, single-breasted suit, the bottom 2 are always buttoned. The top one is always unbuttoned. It's called 3-rolled 2. But if you prefer a 2-button single-breasted jacket, by the way, there's a quick story behind that. Jack Kennedy, when his father was the ambassador to the United Kingdom, took a 3-button suit to a Savile Row tire and said, "I want this made in 2 buttons." And they did. And the 2-button jacket, which is pretty much the standard today, was born.
Very interesting. You know all this stuff so well, and you're kind of an artist when it comes to clothes. RogerStoneSuits.com, RogerStoneSuits.com. And the tailor can come right to you, and it's all explained on the website. Hey, I actually got to take you back to politics one more time, and then we'll let you enjoy your Memorial Day. Roger, Candace Owens just had Hunter Biden on her show. And Hunter Biden also went on Sean Ryan's show, who's an alleged conservative. There's something kind of weird happening, and you're an entrepreneur, and you're also a media pro, and I'm very frustrated by it. Let me put it to you this way. The left, they march, they bang the drum, and they all march in the same direction. CNN, collusion, Russia, Trump, 2 years, fake news. They're all pushing the same narrative. Our side, we're independent, and we're all going our different directions, which is great. But sometimes there isn't, I think we're lacking right now a counterpoint to the New York Times, a major conservative, entity to kind of lead this charge, because right now conservative media is too reactive. And as you can see with Candace Owen and Sean Ryan, they're also starstruck, and they'll sit down with Hunter Biden for 2 hours and not ask him a challenging question. It's like these people, they're all about clicks and likes. They're not pursuing the truth. Some are, too few are, and I think it's a major problem, but also an opportunity on our side. Does that make sense?
Well, the problem, of course, is the folks who agree with you and I, Greg, are free thinkers. No one dictates what we think. I saw the incredible amalgamation auction of Hunter Biden's laptop put out by the folks at marcopolo.org. You can, by the way, send for it. They'll send it to you in either a digital format or the actual book. It's shocking. By the way, the pornographic images have been blurred, so you can have it around the house if you got children. But I've read that. And on that basis alone, I would never have Hunter Biden on my show. Never.
Yeah, Garrett Ziegler from Marco Polo. He's a real patriot and a hard worker and smart. And he did that work. And, from time to time, my frustration is that should be on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. But they're all conflicted and weird about Trump, and maybe we need something new. Roger Stone, we thank you so much. Enjoy your Memorial Day. Well earned. And when you talk to Tulsi, please give her our best. Everybody should go to rogerstonesuits.com, rogerstonesuits.com. It is an amazing website from an amazing man, the one and only Roger Stone. We thank you, Roger.
Greg, I can't wait to see you in your double-breasted cream linen sport.
I can't wait. I can't wait to put it on. Thank you, sir. And we'll be right back.
Greg Kelly.
Let's go, Brandon.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Greg Kelly, entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Daddy.
Mm-hmm. It's my 4-year-old Madeline.
Yeah.
Honey, what is Masha and the Bear about?
It's the bear, but Marsha is more sillier than the bear.
Come here, wait, what? I can't hear you. What is it about?
It's Marsha and the bear, but Marsha is more sillier than the bear.
It's more what than the bear?
Sillier.
Sillier, Marsha, because she always doesn't listen to a bear.
The bear is nice? Is Masha nice?
No, yes, but she always do silly stuff.
Silly stuff. Like what?
Oh, gosh. It's great. It's great. I love it. I love it. I love it. Masha and the Bear is a cartoon in the house. She likes that cartoon. Annalise likes other cartoons. There's often a little bit of sparring going on. Isn't that beautiful? 4 years old. Oh, gosh. I just love it. It's so much fun. Oh, she's so unbelievably cute. Now I know what people were talking about all these years. You ought to have kids, Greg. You ought to do this. You ought to have family. I'm like, I'm too busy having fun, raging around. No, this is what it's all about. And I just hope I'm, I'm doing my best, and kids act up, right? They act up and they throw tantrums sometimes. She doesn't throw that many, but when she does, they can hear it down the block. And we're doing our best. It's very, very exciting. And, I can't, oh gosh, if anything were to happen to them, when you go after somebody's family, they go after President Trump and his family. Maybe you saw this over the weekend. Ivanka Trump targeted for assassination by the IRGC terrorist in twisted plot to avenge president taking out this guy's mentor. Now listen to this. First daughter Ivanka Trump was targeted for assassination by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, a guy who was trained by that organization. Recently captured Mohammed Bajir Saad Dawood al-Sadi, 32 years old, made a pledge to kill Ivanka and even had a blueprint of her Florida home. The Iraqi national was allegedly targeting President Donald Trump's family in response to the killing of Iranian military chief Qasem Soleimani in a U.S. drone strike in Baghdad 6 years ago. Yeah, a little bit more than 6 years ago. I think, was that in 2019? I think it might have been in 2019. After Qasem was killed, al-Assad, no, I guess it was in 2020, went around telling people we need to kill Ivanka to burn down the house of Trump the way he burned down our house. Fahd Khanbar, a former deputy military attaché in the Iraqi embassy in Washington, told the New York Post, "We heard that he had a plan of Ivanka's house in Florida," Khanbar added. A second source also confirmed al-Assad's plan to kill Ivanka. This is the one thing that worries me. And not only, this guy has a plan of Ivanka's house. I don't know where she lives, somewhere down there. But I certainly know where President Trump stays a lot. That Mar-a-Lago is a great big fat target. And I really hope and pray that the Secret Service has finally gotten its act together in providing real security for the president. Because for a long time they were mailing it in, possibly on purpose. Possibly taking it easy because the deep state that still hates Trump. El-Sadi also posted a picture of a map showing the enclave in Florida where Ivanka and husband Jared Kushner have a $24 million home on X alongside a chilling threat in Arabic, which translates to, "I say to the Americans, look at this picture and know that neither your palaces nor the Secret Service will protect you. We are currently in the stage of surveillance and analysis. I told you, our revenge is a matter of time." Yikes. Maybe they should get the hell out of that house. How do you buy a house and not have anybody know about it? Well, there are ways to do that. You can form a shell company. It's legal, and you got to have a life of anonymity, at least when you're going to and from. Gosh darn it, that house. And I think I've seen their house now, come to think of it, this is their house on Entertainment Tonight or, one of those shows online. I remember saying, oh, wow, $24 million house. What is that like? Not thinking that. And in the age of the drones, oh, gosh. How do you do that? They got to have a counter surveillance, counter drone system on top of the roof. That's vulnerable. That's vulnerability. It's a lot of vulnerability. I would not want to be in Iran if that were to happen. If they take out Ivanka and her family, totally innocent, watch out. Watch the hell out. You do not want to do that. Al-Sadi is said to be a high-ranking figure in the Iran-Iraq terrorist circles. He was arrested in Turkey on May 15th, extradited to the U.S., where he is charged with 18 attacks and attempted attacks throughout Europe and the United States, according to the Justice Department. So this isn't just some guy, what was that? Taxi driver style, De Niro in his room doing push-ups, fantasizing about doing something. This guy knows how to do stuff, and he had already done stuff. He's been behind attacks in the U.S. and Jewish targets, including the firebombing of the Bank of New York Mellon in Amsterdam in March, the stabbing of 2 Jewish victims in London in April, and a shooting at the U.S. consulate building in Toronto also in March, according to the DOJ. He also planned, coordinated, and allegedly took responsibility for attacks against Jewish people, including the bombing of a synagogue in Liège, Belgium. I think I remember that one. The arson of a temple in Rotterdam in March, according to the feds, as well as various other foiled counterattacks in the U.S. in response to the current conflict in the Middle East. Oh, shoot. Now I'm looking at a picture of this damn guy that he put on the thing. He knows where they live. And oh, gosh. This is bad, folks. This is bad. This is going to change the way a lot of people live. It's going to change the way people live. In the olden days, I wouldn't be that worried. Well, what can they do? With these crazy drones and the ease. Now, Ivanka, let's see here. There's a little bit of information about Ivanka. She's 44 years old. She converted to Judaism. It's another reason probably why they'd want to kill her. Please, God, protect Ivanka, protect Jared, their entire family, and, of course, President Trump. We'll be right back.
Thanks for listening to The Greg Kelly Show. You can hear The Greg Kelly Show weekdays at 12:15 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?